Welcome to Mysteries, Monsters, and Mayhem.
I'm Shannon Lawrence.
And I'm MB Partlow.
Quick content warning before we get started. This podcast may contain language and disturbing content, so enter at your own risk.
Hello!
Hello! So we've been busy since the last time we recorded. We had conference.
I know, it was a weekend, but that felt like a month. And now it seems like it was a year ago, and it wasn't that long ago.
No, my chronic fatigue says it was yesterday.
I'm sorry.
And then I went to StokerCon, 2 weeks after that?
Uh-huh.
And then
I went to a scrapbooking weekend.
You went to a scrapbooking weekend. Other than that, I have kept my calendar clear so that I don't have to do anything else anytime
We've done
soon.
all the socializing we need to do for a while.
For a year. Not really.
So I just saw this thing about you can do a ghost tour down in Canyon City. So of course I immediately contacted Shannon. Mm-hmm. And Amy was like, can I go? And I was like, I said, sure. And then I laughed and I said, like, either one of us can stay up all night. No problem, because it's like 8 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Oh, I got this.
Yes. I'm like, I'm going to have tape.
Poke you whenever the ghosts come.
Yeah.
Hey guys, wake up.
Wake up.
Look, it's right over there. Look, there's a meter reading. Wake up. There's EMPs. I don't know what it is.
I was like, Ian who?
EM.
E.F. Hutton.
Sure. That's the problem with ghost hunts. They have to happen at night.
Yeah. Which works for you.
It does. I'm reading a book called The Sanitarium right now. So.
Oh, the one set in... I just read that.
Okay. It seemed appropriate because there was snow. And I was like, I'm going to read that while it's snowing.
That book will make you cold because they do a very good job about describing the snow and the cold and the bleakness.
Yeah, so far they're I'm not that far in. I just started last night, really, but yeah, they do.
And I started the new Chuck Wendig, and I'm like, well, fuck, now I'm scared because I'm in this, this place in the middle of the woods reading this book.
I've been watching the old Unsolved Mysteries has popped up on, I think, Peacock, and I'm like, So I'm rewatching it again from the beginning because I was pretty young when I watched it. Don't get me wrong. My parents let me watch it with them. Probably not a good thing. But Robert Stack has is that his name? Has such a presence.
Know. Have you watched The Baby yet?
Yes. Oh, shit. We forgot. We watched 2 episodes and we forgot to go back.
I've watched the first 3 episodes, I think.
Okay. We got 2 in.
Maybe.
Yeah. Very strange.
There's just something horrible in every episode. I was going to say there's something horrible that happens in episode 3, and I wish I had been warned. But as soon as you see, I'm just going to say
yeah, because you see the setup each time.
You'll understand when I say, you see the dog, and you just know.
No.
You just know.
We watched Firestarter last night with the kids, the original, so that next week we can watch, because we were going to do this, but we ended up watching Guns Akimbo first.
I haven't watched it. I mean, I saw it when it came out, but I haven't.
I feel like it's still good. It has points where it's slowish at this point, because nothing goes that slow anymore unless it's very intentional.
Yes.
But it's still good.
I have to get the book and reread it, because after watching the new one, I think they left a whole bunch out right in the middle. And I can't remember if that's how the book ended or not. So we won't give anything away.
Yeah, I was thinking I should rewatch it after I watch both of them just to see what's in there. Because I remembered them making more of a big deal about George C. Scott being Native American. I always hated that this awful, pervy bad guy was Native.
Yes.
But then when I watched it, his name is John Rainbird or something like that.
Yes. It's
either they'd edited it or...
It is more of a thing in the second one, I will tell you.
See, I hate that. We don't need that. We don't need that kind of bad energy. You know what? That's actually super relevant to what I'm talking about today. That's a point of fact. But it just always bothered me. As a kid, when you're growing up, there's not a lot of positive Native American roles out there or in books or anything. There's just nothing positive for you. Mm-hmm. You're just a piece of shit because you're Native, right? And so that bothered me because, of course, I loved Stephen King. And then for him to make this pervy, awful man Native, it was like that's part of what made him a bad guy was being Native. So anyway, yeah, just watching that again. He's so ugh. But then I had just watched, it was the first time my husband saw it, The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane. And it's funny because I talked about it a couple months ago because I watched it when it first popped up on
I haven't
Shudder
seen
again.
that.
And then Joe Bob did it.
Ah.
Yes. So it's really good. You haven't seen it or you haven't seen it in a long time? With young Jodie Foster?
Yeah, I can't. I'm going to make a note of it.
It's really, really good. Because it's not, there's no blatant horror in it. It's quiet horror for anybody who needs that, but the horror is in like the reality of these people. But Martin Sheen is a pervy man in it. Jodie Foster is 14.
Oh.
Her character's 14. And I think she was 13 when they started filming, and then she turned 14 while on it. But anyway, yeah. So there's Martin Sheen, and then Martin Sheen's the bad guy in Firestarter.
Huh.
And then I was watching Eli Roth's History of Horror, and they did psychics, and they were like, psychics and horror? Turns out most of those are Stephen King. And I was thinking about that, and I'm like, you know what? He really did have a thing about psychic and psychokinetic.
I love that series, Eli Roth.
Yeah, it's good. A new season just popped up.
Oh, I don't know if I finished the last one, so I'll have to go back and catch up. Yeah. But you know who Stephen King really doesn't like? Fat women.
Oh, yeah. It's been shown again and again. It's not just fat women. He just doesn't like fat people.
No. But he seems to have a special place in his.
Yeah. I've seen in the discussion books of horror about he hates women and stuff like that. And I'm like,
I don't think he hates women.
Clearly he doesn't. He likes Dolores like he does have some standout, like positive Dolores Claiborne. But anyway, yes, there were questionable. There's a lot of questionable shit in there. So, but now he's, full on liberal and he's grown out of it. There's stuff in Dance Macabre that reading it, it's like, I see some.
Yeah, but you know what? We all get to grow and evolve.
It's just that most of us weren't published before we did it.
I'm sure 40 years from now, we'll look back and go, oh, I shouldn't have said that.
Well, right. That's what social media, I think, is where we'll see a lot of that, right? But we see that happening now, just in terms of, I said this 10 years ago on Twitter or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It comes back and bites you.
It never goes away.
And the thing is, what it's okay to joke about and stuff changes.
Yep.
And so you're like, I don't know.
Because I have said some salty shit on Facebook. And on Twitter, but mostly on Facebook.
Yeah, I used to post full-on rants.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad always enjoyed those. And then I had to get to the more, all right, so this account, like my presence on social media now makes, matters. Don't say anything that's going to split anything. Blah, blah, blah. But yeah. Before, I was full on posting my opinion now. Now I'm afraid to say anything about my life because somebody will jump on you about what you choose to do in your own personal life. So, yeah.
Or they'll read the first sentence and not read the whole rest of it. And, I hate that.
I find myself having to put a post that would have been one sentence, then I have to add, and yes, blah, 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 or no. Just so you know, or no, I can't because of this, because I know what they're going to come at me about in the comments.
Yep.
It's really fucking annoying. I kind of hate it. I'm trying really hard not to just shut everything down for a bit.
I got completely off of Twitter because it made me so anxious and angry and just, ugh.
I went through, because there was so much time at the beginning where it was just follow anybody who's a writer, editor, agent.
Yes. And we both followed.
Yeah. And I went through recently, it took me, it was maybe once a week, I'd sit down and I'd taken a picture of where I'd left, because you can't just go back to it in your friend list. And I just went through and just eliminated people. I was like, okay, they're posting political diatribes that are totally against what I believe in. Gone. They're just not posting anymore. Gone.
Yep.
And why did I don't know this person. They're not a writer. Gone. I eliminated I think, over 1,000 or whatever.
Oh my God.
So anyway, here's the thing. My feed is no longer noise. My feed is now...
You've curated it.
Stuff that I want to see these. It's magical. I highly recommend doing it.
I have done that on Facebook. I just didn't... Well, I guess I could do that on Twitter.
Yeah. It's a bit of a pain, but yeah.
I haven't been on for so long.
Right. I've started trying to do better at that. At Twitter.
I can't do all the platforms.
No.
Well,
TikTok, I'm just really rapidly approaching that. I'm just going to delete this because now is not the time for me.
oh no, I find it soothing to just pull it up and watch all the happy. I'm in gay Twitter and cooking Twitter mostly.
I'm on native Twitter. That one.
Oh, I do get native Twitter, but I get native gay Twitter.
Rock on.
TikTok, not Twitter.
Oh,
TikTok.
Yeah, I don't mind watching stuff on it, but I'm just not an exhibitionist type, right? And so you have to want attention on you. I'm just not that person.
Yeah.
But I keep trying because they're like, is this where all authors have to be? And I'm like, you know what? This has to be the one where I draw a line, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you're going to start this week.
Yeah.
You ready?
Sure am.
Go for it.
I mean, by the time everybody hears this, probably going to be 90 degrees again. Because forget having spring in Colorado. But of course, we've got snow sitting outside, and apparently we got like 10 inches.
Yep.
Which was showing universally across Colorado Springs. So
we got a fuck ton of snow.
I always try not to over-exaggerate, so then I under-exaggerate as like a default. So I looked out and I was like, I don't know, maybe that's 6, 7 inches. And they're like, 10 inches! Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Well, I guess it was men measuring the snow.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to use that joke all weekend, so thank you for indulging me.
You're welcome. But yeah, we had a 90-degree day, red flag fire warnings.
Yes.
And then it was amazing feeling the cold whoosh, move in. We were sitting on the back porch. You said you opened your window, right?
Yep.
And the weather guy that we follow, who's just funny, I've seen so many people I know commenting on his posts.
I have told everybody I know, you want the accurate weather, this is who you read.
That's the truth. Here's the thing. He's funny, but so far he has not misled us.
No, and it's called Denver and Front Range
Weather or something like that. Yeah. Which is funny because I've mocked Colorado weather people, meteorologists for ages because they're always wrong. And this guy, and he'll sit there and he'll say, you want the nerdy version? Here's what I'm talking about. And he'll say where there's wiggle room. Here's what we're watching. Yeah. This may flow this way or that way. And if this happens, you'll get this. And if that happens,
And the other day somebody said, you're never right. And his response was like, well, you could just fuck right off.
Right.
Because he's almost always right. And he was like, here's the thing. He's not associated with a newspaper or TV station. He's freelance.
He's just doing it.
He is a meteorologist. He's not just some guy making up bullshit. He is a meteorologist, but
yeah.
He's like, if you don't like it, fuck off. You don't have to read me.
You don't need to follow me.
Yes.
If you're gonna, what the hell? So yeah. Anyways, we have snow outside. So now I'm all flummy and having to, there we go.
And my feet got wet. I had to come in and say, I'm taking off my socks so I could put on slipper socks.
Oh yeah, I went on my mucklucks from Manitoba Mucklucks. I wore them to go out in all that 10 inches of snow to walk through Garden of the Gods and take some pictures yesterday. I didn't feel an iota of wet. They're that good. And these are, they're leather. Sorry, vegans. It's from a Native American company. Bite me. But anyway, they're so good. I've gone out there in snow boots. Always. In that much snow. And for how long I was out there for an hour and a half or something, just slogging through snow. Nothing. In snow boots, it would have soaked through.
I was in sneakers, so... I was at a scrapbooking weekend. I wasn't planning on, dancing around outside. So I had to clear the car. It wouldn't have been bad, except I had to clear the snow off the car, I had to step in the snow to clear the car off, so...
Yeah, I had that when I was taking food to my mom yesterday, because then I had my moccasins on because I'd been out in my boots all day. And then I was dropping, my mom has COVID, so we've been getting her food and taking it to her door.
Although by the time they hear this, she will be done with COVID.
Much better, hopefully. So yeah, I look at her, because she has nobody had cleared her walkway. So I was like, crap, these aren't waterproof. I don't know what to do that.
Do you enjoy going to the grocery store? If so, this message is not for you. But if you're like me and procrastinate going to the store, Instacart is a fantastic option to ensure you no longer have to. Save yourself a trip and go through Instacart, where you can get a delivery through a personal shopper in as little as 1 hour. My experiences have been great so far, with my personal shopper texting me before substituting another product, letting me know when they were on their way to my house, and letting me know it had been delivered, all via text. If you click on our affiliate link in the show notes or on our website, you get free delivery on your first order over $35, and you help out our show at the same time. It's the perfect time to give it a try.
All right, so I'm doing the questionable death of Misty Upham. Upham. My sources: The Free Thought Project, The Washington Post, People, Daily Mail. Misty Upham, The Tragic Death and Unscripted Life of Hollywood's Rising Star by Kristen Millares Young in The Guardian. I highly recommend that article if anybody wants to look up more on this. Wikipedia, and also another recommended article, The Painful Life and Mysterious Death of Misty Upham by Rick Anderson in Seattle Weekly. So this one's really mayhem. I mean, there's more to it than that. But yeah. All right. On October 5th, 2014, 32-year-old Misty Upham, a member of the Blackfeet tribe, was visiting her sister on the Muckleshoot Reservation located in Auburn, Washington, which is a suburb of Seattle, apparently. Her father had recently had a stroke, and she'd returned to be there for him until he recovered enough to move back to LA with her. She left the apartment on foot, wearing gray sweatpants, a black t-shirt, a purple sweater, and silver sneakers, and disappeared. She had been distraught, though her family didn't know why, and she had talked about suicide. Her family called the police to report that she was suicidal and to ask for an involuntary transport to the ER. When the police arrived, she had left. She feared the police, and I'll go into that more later. So the call to authorities caused her to flee the apartment to avoid being picked up by them. Instead of searching for her after they arrived, they demanded to be let in to search the apartment and accused the family of hiding her from them, even though they were the ones who had called and asked for help.
That makes no sense.
So they wouldn't let them leave to follow her, because her father had been running out the door when they got there to try and follow her, because he'd been kind of, well, should I follow her? Should I let her blow off her steam? And so he had decided, okay, he gets his coat and he's going out the front. And the police get there and they're like, wait. And he's like, well, I think she might have gone around the side of the building. Let's go find her. And they were like, no, we need to go inside. And it was just, again, we'll go into this more later. There's reasons. So when they didn't find her in the apartment, and like they searched closets and everything, and her family's going, we need to go out and look for her. And they're going, you're hiding her. And it was a major fuck up. So anyway, then they took off. Didn't find her, so they left. Her family contacted police the next day to report that she had not returned home and that they were concerned about her due to medical issues. They asked that she be considered endangered missing. Police, having dealt with her before, felt she was not qualified as endangered missing. They did assign a detective to her case on the 7th, which was 2 days after she'd gone missing, but they didn't post bulletins. They didn't put anything out. They didn't go and look for her. They did not put together a search party. Her family went to the media and social media. As Misty Upham was a Hollywood actress, multiple periodicals picked up the story, but when local media contacted Commander Stalker for a press release on October 10th, when she was still missing, she'd gone missing on the 5th, just a reminder, Stalker said he had no intention of making a press release. I mean, they came to him.
Yeah.
How much worry? On October 13th, an assigned detective asked another officer via email. Here's the thing, that Guardian article I had, they went, there's freedom of information. They went and they got the records. They got them to release all this stuff that was in her file. So there's a lot of information in my story that's from that. But anyway, in the pile of stuff, they found an email, and the assigned detective had contacted the other officer and said, how have the search efforts gone for her? And the response was, what? Nothing. Nothing has been done. And then that's it. There'd been no search. Later that day, the media was still contacting them, so the PD finally, on the 13th, after she went missing on the 5th, put out a press release asking for any tips. She'd been missing 8 days. It was ultimately a search party her uncle, a retired Army scout, had put together that found her body on October 16th. They found her purse in a wooded area overlooking the White River. One of the search members tied a rope around a tree and lowered himself down, finding her body at the bottom of the 150-foot deep ravine. The man who found her was made to stay with the body. The police were like, you can't leave. We can't get the ME down there safely yet, so you have to stay with the body. He knew her, so he had to sit here with this body that had been scavenged by animals for all that time. Yeah, I read his personal account, and it was
God.
Poor guy. So until it could be removed, till they could get people down there, he had to stand there. And then they got down there, didn't explain what they were doing. All right, we have to test the bottom of your shoes, and we have to do all this. Well, basically, they were making sure he hadn't murdered her.
Right.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. On December 3rd, 2014, the medical examiner put out a report saying her cause of death was blunt force trauma to her head and torso, as well as major internal injuries, and that she died the day she disappeared, though the estimate was about 6 hours after police were called. I don't know how accurate the time would have been for something like that. It was near Seattle in the fall, so I could see it being cool enough, right?
But, okay.
I have no idea. So the ME went on to say the manner of death could not be determined. So cause of death was all those injuries. Manner of death, they couldn't say whether foul play had been involved. They couldn't say if all the injuries were just from the fall, so on and so forth. So they did not commit. So they said...
Yes, because just because there's an autopsy and an experienced medical examiner does not mean that they can always determine the cause of death. You can't
magically.
Methods, yes, but they cannot always say cause of death.
Right. And it's like he said, I could have been the fall, but I can't tell if she was hit before the fall, Makes sense. The ME also reported that her blood alcohol level was 0.33, which is extreme intoxication and can be enough to cause unconsciousness and is definitely enough to slow reflexes. So if you're at the top of a very steep embankment,
yes,
you could easily trip and fall. So here's where the press split. While her family was willing to believe her death was accidental, they did state that it was her flight from police that caused her death. Others believed it was suicide, influenced by years of struggle with mental illness. We'll go into that more soon. Still, others believed it was murder. Before we look further into that, let's talk about Misty and her background. She was born July 6, 1982 in Kalispell, Montana, but raised in Auburn on the reservation quite a bit. They moved around a lot because financial necessity would arise, and they'd move back to the reservation. Her dad was a music teacher. He taught at some big college in Montana for a bit. Her mom was a stay-at-home mom who would, when they needed more money, she'd get used clothes and then she'd fix them up and do neat things to them and then resell them. So they called her an entrepreneur. And then she had 2 siblings, a sister and a brother. Her parents had survived, both of them, federal boarding schools.
Oh, good God.
So they were desperate. They only went to the reservation when they had to because they really wanted their kids to be spared all of that shit. As a little girl in Billings, Montana, a girl she was close with, who she'd been playing with, they'd go to each other's homes, one day said she couldn't play with her anymore because her mom had found out she was Native American, and her mom didn't want her daughter to get bugs from her. So the father, when interviewed, said, I assume she meant lice, which she never had. Things like this hit me because I've told a story about how I had the same thing. We'd been friends for probably a couple years. Then the mom found out I was Native American, and suddenly I wasn't allowed to come over because she felt I'd steal from her, even though in all that time I never had. Because I was Native, I would innately be a thief. So that really hit me.
Yeah, well, as it should.
When she was 13 and living back on the reservation, she suffered a gang rape and other violence from peers on the reservation. I assume that was part of she lived there, she didn't. Maybe they thought she was better than them. On her blog as an adult, she wrote, first there's the physical pain and never being able to forget it. The fear of having someone hold you down, the cheering and the laughter. All these noises won't leave my mind. I keep hearing it like a ghostly voice, but the physical is nothing compared to the mental. She had also been molested by someone close to the family when she was much younger. Her experiences in her younger years led to diagnoses of depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and PTSD. She was put on many medications for her issues. They had a list. It's just, I've been through it. Like, they just throw drugs at you until something sticks. But she was not on medication at the time of her death due to money problems and the slowness of the Indian Health Service. There were so many things that I had to cut out to explain that. But the thing is, not just Native, poor people end up depending upon the ER to get their medications. It's complicated, but that she was kind of in that situation. She'd been trying to get in for months to get her prescription, but the earliest appointment they'd had was in November, and she had made that appointment. Obviously, that would prove to be too late. She died in October.
She was also infected with H. pylori as a kid, and that's something that's commonly found where clean water is not available, like, say, reservations. It caused severe stomach ulcers and vomiting, which led to her losing her teeth because of the acid wear, and so she already had dentures. Still, she pursued her dreams of becoming an actress, first through a native theater group called Red Eagle Soaring, and then in Hollywood, first appearing in 2002 in a film called Skins. This was followed by appearances in TV shows and TV movies, leading eventually to a role in the highly respected Frozen River in 2008, which would lead to her winning Best Supporting Actress at the American Indian Film Festival, Best Newcomer by the Alliance of Women Film Journalists, and 3 other nominations for Best Supporting Actress. Following Frozen River, she got several other parts, including in the film Django Unchained, but she was still working as a housekeeper to make ends meet. So, like, people think Hollywood actress, even after an award-winning role, she was still working as a housekeeper, and she often ended up homeless and living in her car. And her parents were coming out to stay with her a lot, and then she was trying to take care of them financially, and it was just a mess. Part of the reason for this was her refusal to take stereotypical drunken Indian roles, which, mad respect for her for not taking those.
Yes.
Even if it meant she didn't have money. Then along came the film where she made a big splash. She played Jana Monaveda, a housekeeper in August Osage County.
Oh.
With Meryl Streep and, which garnered her further award nominations and led to her attending the Golden Globe Awards. Which sounds great, but let's discuss what happened at the ceremony.
Oh.
While at the ceremony, Misty was forced into the men's room by an unnamed Weinstein executive where he raped her in front of a room of cheering men wearing tuxedos. After the rape, she walked out what they called the Walk of Shame and rejoined the ceremony, the men high-fiving behind her. Her parents begged her to go to the police. Her dress had the man's DNA on it. I will post a picture. There's this lovely, silky green dress. That's the dress. And her family reported still having that dress after her death, by the way, when the Weinstein drama hit years later, when he was finally outed. Now, it says it was a Weinstein executive. Doesn't say it was him.
Right.
But they were like, we have the DNA still.
Well, gosh, what a surprise that a man like that would surround himself with sycophants and
exactly
assholes.
Yeah. Her father wrote a Facebook post after her death. It actually can be viewed. It's public. And his name is Charlie Upham. I don't remember if it's Charlie or Charles on there. And after the Weinstein drama hit the world stage, stating that Weinstein was an easy scapegoat, but that the problem was much larger than one man in Hollywood. While she was still alive, she told her father she'd seen what happens when a woman goes after a rapist. I mean, this is why she was like, no, I'm not going to the police. She knew it would be turned on her and that Weinstein could destroy her career easily. He did that to other women, we're hearing now. She told her parents that she'd been in a limo with Weinstein and Quentin Tarantino when Weinstein's assistant interrupted their conversation. Weinstein had the limo pull over and kicked the assistant out into a raging snowstorm in Utah. Misty asked, what if he freezes to death? And Weinstein waved her off and said, someone will pick him up. And they left. They left the dude out in the snowstorm. He survived, but... Misty knew that Weinstein held great power in Hollywood. Again, we're hearing this over and over again. And that turning on one of his executives could lead to not only the loss of her burgeoning acting career, but possibly serious personal harm. Her father also stated on his Facebook page that this Weinstein executive had not been the first Hollywood higher-up to assault her. He referred to the casting couch issue that's been around for ages, and he made a point of saying for all types of people in Hollywood, not just women. About a year after her rape, Misty would be dead. Many disturbing things have come out about Weinstein's abuse of power since then, including the hiring of ex-Mossad agents to go after people he had an issue with, to scare them and menace them. But while Weinstein having her killed is a theory put out by some, it's doubtful he had a hand in her death. There are still people who feel that he must have sent somebody to kill her. I'm not buying that one. Misty announced she was pregnant May 28th, 2014, which her father attributes to a relationship she was in briefly. However, she miscarried the baby in June. His name was Leaf. Around this time, her father had his stroke, and they all moved in with her sister on the res. I put all this out there because this is important. This is why her mental health was deteriorating, and she couldn't get her medication. While Misty had been talking about suicide, her family did not ultimately believe she died by suicide. She thought suicide was a sin. The injuries were to her skull and ribs, which would imply she went over head first, which sounds to me more like a trip
than a step off the cliff or whatever. But I didn't. I was like, I wasn't really able to find people who plummet to their deaths purposely. How do they normally go?
Right.
So, I don't know. Friends said she would go to the Overlook a lot when she needed alone time.
Okay.
Unfortunately, when she fled there that night, it was dark and she was inebriated. Let's revisit why Misty was running from the police. Finally going to get there. She'd had run-ins with them before. The way the reservation is set up, there are chunks of land belonging to the reservation and chunks belonging to the county. So it's not just one big solid area. It's so weird. It's probably, I mean, we know these are probably more valuable areas. And they're like, we're going to keep these because that's how it works. It's called a patchwork setup. There was a lot of animosity between the Muckleshoot community and Auburn PD. I mean, I've covered stuff on this before. Yeah. This is very common. And in an August incident, police had picked her up for an involuntary transport to the ER. Police cuffed her and locked her in the back of a cruiser. Now, they were supposed to be picking up for her own health and safety. Just a reminder for what that is for involuntary transportation to the ER. Then they proceeded to taunt her, telling her if she didn't like how they treated her, she should report it to George Clooney since she was a movie star, because she was telling them, I'm an actress. I'm somebody, instead of just this piece of trash that you're treating me like. They kept tapping on the window and making faces as if she was an animal in the zoo. Inside the car, she was crying. Her family actually witnessed this. This is how we know it. It was dark once they caught her, and her family was standing over here, so the police didn't see them. Oh. And the mom was like, go do something about that. Go say something. And he said, I'll just get arrested too. Right now, she's in the car and she's safe. I'm not going to make this into something different. But then he had her purse with her medication. And so he went over there with it. And one of the officers said, is she delusional or what? She's claiming to be an actress. And her father simply said, she is. Like, she couldn't be an actress. She couldn't be anybody human.
No.
At the ER, she had various contusions, a black eye, and her jaw was swollen. She didn't remember what had happened to cause the injuries. She was drunk and possibly on benzodiazepines. Her parents asked her to report what had happened to the Auburn PD, and she did make that call. They feel she reached Commander Stalker, but they don't know that for sure. That's according to her dad. She would later tell her parents that after she told the person on the other line what she wanted to report, their response was, what are you going to do about it? She was then told that she either had to file a formal report or nothing would be done about it. Police reports acquired by The Guardian showed she had been hiding in bushes and had to be pulled out of them, and that she had fought violently, so that's where the injuries were attributed. She was prone to panic attacks and said she was very strong during them. Because it's no longer visible. The family made it private after she died, but she had a blog about being a Native actress, basically. Okay. And I was able to read snippets of it. But, she said she couldn't control herself during her panic attacks. And so that's when all this bad stuff would happen. But in addition, she feared going to the ER again because they had told her if she continued being brought in on involuntary hold, again, because she couldn't get her fucking medication, she could be involuntarily committed for a year.
A year?
So now the ER is like, if we keep seeing you, we're going to commit you. And she just desperately didn't want to be committed.
Well, nobody...
And also she talked about, in some of her reports, she talked about the experience of even going to the ER because they would strap her down.
That does not help a panic attack.
No. And she said it could be 5 minutes before they came in to help you, and it could be hours while you were strapped down. And so it was all just, that's why she ran out. Right? When her parents called. On the day of her disappearance, her father did report her saying, repeatedly saying, no, I don't want to be locked up in an asylum. I don't want to be, The family felt the police harassing them and trying to search the apartment kept them from searching for her. They felt they would have been able to find her if everyone had searched right then. Her death being 6 hours later lends credence to this, but again, I don't know how solid that time frame is. Commander Stalker did make statements to the press saying that they did take her disappearance seriously. He said that though they had not initiated a search, so you didn't take it seriously, they had assigned her case to a detective when she didn't turn back up. As her father stated, it's tragic that Misty slipped and fell to her death trying to avoid the police. It's tragic that she did not get the proper medication to treat her mental illness from her mental health caregivers at Valley City's mental health. It's tragic that the Auburn PD refused to offer help to find her or at least change her missing status to endangered to allow other agencies to get involved. They've called for the FBI to investigate her death as a possible murder. Stalker has further said that since July of 2013, the Auburn Police Department has responded to 5 separate incidents involving Ms. Upham. Each contact was handled professionally and with compassion, with the goal of getting Ms. Upham the attention and care she needed. He also said it has been inferred that she may have suffered a black eye at the hands of police, but that is not correct. Rather, included in a related written report, Ms. Upham stated that she had sustained a sprained ankle and black eye when she jumped out of a 2-story window. He denied that Misty had ever called to report any misdeeds by the police. On why she was not listed as endangered missing, they stated that they try not to use that in case the impact is lessened over time. And I mean, why would you waste that on some Native woman who's clearly not right in the head? He didn't say that part. They said that she was capable of taking care of herself, so not endangered. However, to me, if they keep having to take her on involuntary hold 3 or 4 times in the previous 2 years, that indicates to me that she could not take care of herself in their eyes.
Yeah.
So again, bullshit. They knew she wasn't mentally well. They knew they'd had to keep doing that. They were so tired of dealing with her, but that's exactly what the endangered missing is for. So, an officer, Herman, was quoted as saying she could also get into her car and drive and go to LA and act as a perfectly functioning adult human being. The implication was again that she was not endangered. The next question becomes, why do the Uphams now think she might have been murdered? Her parents received a phone call after her cause of death was released. It was from a friend who said that Misty had been murdered, but those who knew who had done it were afraid to go to the police about it. She said that her cousin had been hosting a house party up the street from Misty's sister, and that Misty had shown up there after she fled her sister's place. She got into an argument while there, and 2 men beat her up and killed her. Charles Upham, Misty's father, contacted the ME with this information, but the ME stated they could not reopen the case to look into it unless ordered to do so by the police.
Okay.
When Charles said they were contacting the FBI to get involved, the ME said, I encourage you to do that. Upham did also report this to a detective at the Auburn PD, and the detective asked to meet with him, saying she would pass the information to her superiors. This was in late 2014, and I couldn't find an update. In addition to this information, actress Juliette Lewis, a close friend of Misty's, stated that Misty had confided to her that she felt she was being targeted and thought someone might try to kill her. She referred to the violence Misty had suffered on the reservation and said she would have been targeted for being vocal, but there was no more explanation on that. These were tweets by Juliette Lewis, again, still visible. To me, someone who is bipolar and off her medication and whose family are begging for help should be listed as endangered.
Yeah.
That should be exactly what that's for. Endangered means that there is a risk factor. That means they're being missing, means something bad could happen.
Yeah. That seems kind of textbook.
Yeah. It really does seem as if animosity came into play and that the police higher-ups willfully refused to list her as endangered because they were tired of dealing with her. Would her life have been saved had they behaved differently when first called? Possibly. We'll never know. In the meantime, we can push for police departments bordering reservations to do better. There is a well-documented background of bordering police departments holding animosity for the residents and treating them like trash. There is also clear racism involved. They see reservation inhabitants as below them, which is exactly what reservations were originally establishing. They were the U.S. government's way of getting them out of their way. Mm-hmm. And police officers would rather they be neither seen nor heard. They want them out of the way. They don't want to have to deal with them. But further caging people and abusing them does not lead to improvement of their lives and certainly does not fix the inherent issues. Those close to her said she was strong and ambitious, that she was never self-pitying, even in the depths of her depression, that she was hopeful and spiritual, and that she was a beautiful soul. Misty had planned to create a children's theater troupe. She had said, acting has saved me from darkness many times, and most Native children had dreams just like every other child, but they may never touch those dreams because of poverty and isolation. I'm going to change that. And I believe she would have, had she been given a fighting chance in her own life. While it seems likely her death was an unfortunate accident, I do lean that way. It could have been avoided if various people in her life had made different choices, and if she'd been able to get the help she needed. Her story stands as an example of issues still being faced today, and the lack of desire to change that. I do feel like her family takes some of that blame because they knew how afraid she was of the police. They knew how afraid she was of the ER, and yet each time they called the police.
Right. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I'm like, in descriptions, you can go on and read what it was like when she would go into these attacks and she would be drunk because when she couldn't get medication, that's how she'd self-medicate.
Yep.
And I'm sure they just didn't know what to do. I'm sure they felt hopeless And I get that. It's just that, and all of these things with the police. I'm like, but you called them. And that never gets mentioned. And I hate to blame them. So, but
still
I just feel
all,
that everybody in her life made that bad decisions.
It doesn't answer when you go back to where you started with her going missing. They called the police and said she's run off and we're worried about her. And so the police came and searched the house for her.
And acted like they were hiding her.
Yeah, that just makes no sense.
I don't get it. There was nothing pointed to where a past thing had them hiding her. There was nothing like that. So it didn't make any sense at all. They just felt it was, again, like they came out with the opinion that their time was being wasted.
Yep.
And it just, no matter what, the police fucked up.
Yeah, repeatedly.
And I read all kinds of statements from them about how well they handled it all. It's bullshit. And even just if you put aside any racism and any of that, the way they handled it still needs to be looked at because they still made a mistake. Mm-hmm. She should have been endangered missing.
And
are they so busy in Auburn that they couldn't search for her? It's not New York City. It's not Denver. It's not, there's no fucking reason. It sounds to me, if part of their policing is on a reservation, that they're in a fairly rural area.
Yes.
So there's no fucking reason that they couldn't have done something about it. And just the blatant, the one detective being like, hey, did we do a search for her? Yeah. When they got assigned this, and their answer was like this totally, no, we didn't do anything.
I mean, they could have, even if they couldn't spare the manpower, the person power to go out there and do the search, they could have easily facilitated a search. They could have spared an officer who could, because you said her uncle led the search.
Yeah. Something interesting to me is that I don't know what the group was called. The people searching were all different tribal affiliations. Mm-hmm. So they said something about they've created this group because police won't do anything. There's now a group of all these, again, tribal affiliations that will go and help with these searches on the different reservations and stuff because the police won't do it. There's had to be a group created because they know the police don't give a shit if somebody who is native disappears.
And will refuse to act on it.
Yes. So I thought it was great that they had this group and that they helped her.
It's great that it exists.
But it shouldn't have to exist.
Yes, it's pitiful that it has to exist.
Yeah. So, I don't you see why this was the case that
I can see
I had a nightmare and all this stuff after never having that for anything serial killer.
I can easily see why that would upset you.
Yeah.
Damn. Well, let's change gears. So I'm calling my piece, and sometimes I name them, sometimes I don't. This one I'm calling an appetite for crime. Because I am returning to food writing. So I decided I am going to lighten the fuck up and do some fun food crimes. The very first one I'm doing is not fun in any stretch of the imagination. But the rest of them are.
But you put that one first.
I did. I put that one first. I had to rearrange everything. Because I still laugh when I talk about Waffle House. The compilation I did of the Waffle House crimes. There's a book out there that is just shit that happens at Waffle House crimes.
Well, damn, otherwise you could have written the book.
I could have. But here's the thing. So I said to myself, for this article, I'm not going to talk about any Waffle Houses. And if you search on restaurant crime or food crime, it seems like half of all the incidents involve a Waffle House.
You know what? They like a cheese scramble and raisin toast.
Or a waffle. So, this one isn't lighter, but it's worth remembering because I want it to haunt him till he's dead.
Okay, good.
Remember Jared Fogle? You're like, yes.
Name sounds familiar to me. Well, why?
He's the piece of shit who lost over 200 pounds, and his claim to fame was that Subway was a regular part of his diet. So Subway nerved him so much, he became their spokesperson. Do you know how long he was their spokesperson? 15 years. I couldn't believe it was that long. I would have said it was a couple of years, maybe 5, but no. He was their spokesperson for 15 years. Until and I say this with all malice aforethought, until the sack of rancid dicks was arrested for child sex tourism and possession of child pornography.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
The beginning of the end was when he met... Now, here is how stupid, how unutterably stupid Jared Fogle is. He met a female journalist at a middle school event. He was a speaker of some sort, and she was covering it. And he made comments and then texts to her about how he would like to have sex with the middle school girls. He also wanted her to put up a camera and film her daughter.
See, what that tells me, though, is that he had made that type of joke to other people he was around and they'd allowed it.
And they had, yeah. She, on the other hand, did not find him funny in the least. She kept everything and took it to the FBI. The FBI did not have enough to go on, but they had an investigation going. It wasn't that they ignored her. He also tried to get a Subway franchisee to pimp her 16-year-old female cousin to him.
Ugh.
Yeah. She reported him to Subway, but they said since he wasn't their employee, he was like a contractor. He wasn't actually employed by he wasn't their employee. They couldn't do anything about it. So the end result was he was sentenced to 15 years in prison. He is not eligible for parole until 13 years. And when he is released, he will be on supervised release for the entire rest of his life and required to register as a sex offender.
Good.
So I told you that so I could tell you this story.
Wouldn't it be fun? Because I've been getting so many, apparently, like, we're being flooded with sexual predators recently in moving places. Have you seen those too?
Yes.
So, just like, could you imagine looking at it and it's all Jared Fogle and you're like, what?
Not only that, I hope he gets fat again. That's how much this bothers me. I wouldn't say that to anybody.
Oh, no.
And I hope he gets hemorrhoids. Anyway, so I reminded you about Jared so I could tell you about this story. In November of 2014, which was not really long before all this hit, because I think it was in 2015. But in 2014, an 18-year-old named Zachary Torrance robbed 4 Alabama Subways in 4 days at gunpoint because he claimed he was angry because he tried Jared's diet and it hadn't worked.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I'm like, and he wanted his money back from Subway. But here's the perfect capper to this story for me is local police posted his photo on Facebook and a Walmart shopper recognized him and called the cops. And why was he in Walmart? He needed a holster for the handgun that he'd been using to rob the stores. And he was actually wearing the outfit in Walmart that they had him on camera. Do you people not realize? Of course, I don't think would-be criminals are hot listening to our podcast, but I hope. But do people not realize there are fucking cameras everywhere now? I mean, you can't just... So anyway. Now, I'm going to go back now because I forgot to list my sources at the beginning. But the sources are my faithful True Crime A Day calendar. I get the best shit from there. Ranker.com, Fox 59 News, the Rochester, New York Democrat and Chronicle, the Daily Meal, Wikipedia, New York Daily News, King 5 News, the Orange County Register, the Mirror, South Florida Sun Sentinel, the Portland Oregon Eater, and foodandwine.com.
All right.
I went far and wide. So that why I realized it is the next one came from my food calendar. Which is where I got this story. I couldn't get the guy's name, but it happened at a Mexican restaurant in El Lago, Texas in 2007. You cannot put in El Lago without getting, what's the place? What's his book?
Oh, Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
That comes,
gotcha.
If you put in Lago, that's what you get.
Okay.
So this man did a dine and dash. So when he left, he ran across the street into a vacant building. So when the police officer, the restaurant calls the police show up. So, the police officer goes to the building and he goes around to the back of the building and it's dark and it's he's going into an unknown situation. So he opens the back door and he slides into the building and he can't see anything. So the cop yells, Marco. The guy yells Polo and they catch him.
Oh my God.
They immediately caught him. So the restaurant did not press charges, but he was still charged with criminal trespass.
But once the cops get called out, they got to do something, even if they can't do the thing without the president. I just remember one of my brother's earliest experiences once he became a cop in Cripple Creek was he had to chase somebody into Victor, basically, which is a nearby town, which is mostly a ghost town for people who don't know. Yes. There are still residents, there are still businesses, but half of that city is just shut down in a ghost town. And it seems to just be getting worse. So anyway, he had to chase him, and this guy was going in abandoned buildings, and these are old, Wild West heritage
some
buildings.
Of them are really old.
Yes, and he was just so fucking creepy that I actually have that in my head, and it will be a start of a story that I do at some point. Some of his experiences have been stories, but that just reminded me of him having to chase him, being like, God damn it, I don't want to go into the abandoned building any more than anybody else does.
But to yell Marco, and the guy, it's got to be such an instinct to just yell back Polo.
I know I'm going to tell him to use that in the future.
Yeah.
Hey, I want you to try this and tell me about it.
Yeah. And then you can come on our show and our podcast.
Quick thinking cop right there. Marco.
Okay. So next one up. In mid-November of 2015, a woman named Natasha went to Denny's in Oaklawn, Illinois. She ordered the $4.99 all-you-can-eat pancake special. I wish you could still get that because I could.
You can down some pancakes?
I could put down some pancakes for $4.99. Although it would be maple syrup, not maple, which you wouldn't care. But so, the thing you have to understand is Denny's takes the you part of all you can eat very seriously, and they mean you, one person. So Natasha was sharing the pancakes with her friends at the table. And the waitress came over and said, that's not allowed with this special.
Right.
It's just,
Or you can't get a refill.
Yeah, that's very common. So Natasha got irate. She swore at the waitress and tried to hit her before the entire group left the restaurant without paying. Again, another dine and dash. I've never been that drunk. I've never been so drunk I tried to leave a restaurant without paying. Now, I've done it by accident a couple of times, but never.
No.
Not because I was drunk.
Do it on purpose, and I was like, well, I'm your ride, and you either go inside and pay your fucking bill, or you stay here.
It happened one time, and so we were with friends who covered us, but I got up and went to the bathroom, or Joe got up and went to the bathroom. Before whoever went, we were like, all right, let's get the check and go home. So when the person came back, the other one thought they had paid. I was like, let's go. And then we get a phone call from my friend Cindy going, what the fuck, you walked out without paying? And I go, hold on, didn't you pay the bill? And Joe's like, I thought you paid the bill.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, that was, anyway, we weren't drunk. We were just stupid. So anyway, they called the police. The police tracked down Natasha's car. She hadn't really gone very far. And she was charged with assault and damage to property. And one of her friends paid the bill for the pancakes. So they had the money. They just wanted to be assholes.
Right. Because they couldn't abuse the all-you-can-eat thing.
Yeah. If you want to be an asshole, eat at home. Then there's a Mother's Day story. I wish I'd gotten this one earlier. The owners of Build-A-Burger restaurant in Mount Morris, New York, called the police shortly after 6:30 a.m. This happened to happen on Mother's Day. Turns out their cash register and their surveillance system had gone missing. So the police are searching the surrounding area, and
that's thorough. The security system, too.
Right? They went to the Greenway Trail, which is a big hiking and biking path. We have several around here. So they started finding cash register parts and surveillance system parts. There were rubber gloves and loose change. There was also a trail of macaroni salad. Because, do you want ants? Because this is how you get ants. The criminal masterminds had stolen a bowl of macaroni salad and took turns eating it as they were making their getaway. So the three suspects were taken into custody by early afternoon the same day. And one, I'm not surprised, had additional drug charges. But can you imagine sharing a big ass bowl of macaroni salad with your friends as you walk away from the restaurant you just robbed?
No, tell you why though, because I have a thing about mayonnaise-based foods that once saliva reaches them, it starts self-digesting, and then sharing that with people, and then here are my digesting fluids. That just grosses me out right there.
That's another horror story for you.
Yeah,
right there.
So gross.
Hungry thieves are a thing, or maybe they're all stoned. I don't know. In November of 2020, which admittedly, a lot of people were not making their best decisions.
No.
A man named Oscar Sanchez broke into Big Slice Pizza after they had closed. Again, places have security systems, people. So they got to watch this guy come in, put on a pair of gloves because food safety is important, damn it, and started throwing a ball of dough up in the air. He topped the pizza and put it in the oven to bake while he emptied the cash drawer and stole several tablets. Not only that, not content with the pizza and the stolen goods, he drove off in the business's delivery vehicle. The pizza delivery car. So they caught him 3 days later. And it turns out at the time of the robbery, he was out on bail on another theft charge.
Well, that makes sense. I just remember it wasn't like a theft thing. I just remember us reviewing footage of one of the employees because she never seemed to get stuff done. And she was our sweet baker. So she made all the sweet pies, Eddie Pie restaurant.
Uh-huh.
And so we're reviewing it. And we see her come in. She makes herself some coffee. She drinks coffee. She takes out a pie from our cooler and she eats some pie. Then she does yoga. And then she sits down and goes on her phone. And just like we watched her for like 2 hours on the clock, acting like she was in her own apartment or something.
Oh my God.
But the yoga thing killed me. Like, I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, wait, is she doing down talk right now? I just remember watching that and being like,
I get coming in, making a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I'm sure like they all did that.
Yeah. And even getting something to eat, but yeah.
Except that at that point we didn't have free food anymore because we had hit the pandemic.
Yes.
And couldn't afford it. But yes, so that was theft. But yoga.
Okay, so in March of 2014... a man named Zachary Boynton, and this is our second Zachary in this piece.
Yeah, it is. Listen, Zachs.
Right? So this is near Buffalo, New York. He has a serious craving for McDonald's. So the craving was so serious, when he got to the drive-thru about 1 a.m., he drove straight into the car in front of him. So his blood alcohol was 3 times the legal limit. So obviously the police came, picked him up. He was charged with drunk driving, but he was released when a sober friend showed up to drive him home. Because that's a thing. That happens.
Yeah.
So when he got home, he was still hungry and still drunk. So he drove back to the same McDonald's. But this time, he hit the whole damn building. Just drove smack into it. So he was taken to the hospital and arrested again. And he still didn't get any food.
He was very hungry.
Yes.
And... and should not ever be driving again.
So someone that Joe used to work with, he was out riding his motorcycle on a Friday. I want to say it was a Friday night, and he got pulled over and he got a drunk driving ticket. So the police actually, they issued the ticket. They did arrest him, but they drove him home and said, you need to sleep it off. He decides he doesn't want to leave his motorcycle out on the high side of the highway. So he goes back in his truck, and I can't remember if he put his motorcycle in the back of the truck or he parked his truck there and was going to drive his motorcycle home. He got popped again. So he got 2 DWIs in one night. And they're like, dude, no, you get one, you're out of the game. It's like musical chairs. There was no chair for you. Stop playing. Oh, God. Okay, so you remember the story of when the Grinch stole Christmas? Or how the Grinch stole Christmas, and he's stealing all the feasts in the hotel. Well, at Christmas time in Auburn, Washington in 2004.
Oh, Auburn. Hey!
Hey, the Hagen Northwest Fresh Market, a grocery store, reported thousands of dollars of liquor and cigarettes missing. So police were called out several times in January of 2005. And the store actually had video footage of a man descending from the ceiling, and store employees thought he was living up there.
Ugh.
You guys can't see me. I'm making all kinds of hands gestures. He took a $395 wheel of cheese. So here's the thing. He's climbing down out of the ceiling, carrying all this stuff back up into the ceiling. By the way, the cheese was recovered, but the store couldn't resell it. So it was, after it was photographed as evidence, it was donated to a local food bank.
Ew.
I don't even know if it was opened. Anyway.
Okay. I was going to say, if you can't resell it, you shouldn't be able to donate it either to people who are going to have no idea that some dude had it up in his weird basement or attic, whatever.
Well, as it turns out, so the police searched the ceiling space several times, couldn't find anyone up there. Someone, it didn't specify who, finally tipped the police off, and they were able to get a search warrant and search a man's home, and they arrested him. It turns out his work history was in construction and roofing. So that was explained how he was able to access that space and come and go out of it as he pleased.
Nice.
And in addition to the theft, he was charged with causing $13,000 worth of damage to the store.
Wow.
So this is one of my favorites. These kinds of stories are not limited to the U.S. You might have heard about this story. I hadn't. I don't think. 3 Russian men in their 20s entered the Surf Kitchen restaurant in Pattaya, Thailand.
Okay.
I may be mispronouncing that. In mid-February of 2016. And they had a plan. So the 3 men got their food, and they aren't sitting together. They're sitting at different places in the restaurant. And one man falls to the floor, thrashing and flailing, and then he rose to his feet, and he started acting like a crazed zombie. He starts grunting and groaning and moaning, and he faked attacking and biting his 2 co-conspirators, who in turn rose and acted like zombies. So, the other diners in the restaurant fucking fled.
Well, yes, it's a zombie movie playing out right in front of
you. So, they just ran for the hills. They did leave lots of valuables behind. However, the staff of the restaurant was not having this bullshit, and they launched an attack on the zombies. They called the police, and then they, I believe they used chairs to attack. So the marauders miraculously regained their humanity. So when the police got there, nothing had actually been stolen, and the 3 guys claimed to be merely playing a prank, so the police released them.
Okay.
But can you imagine being in a restaurant, and can you imagine working there and just being like, oh no, fuck this shit. I am not going down. Whether it's a real zombie or a fake zombie, I am not going.
Look, I saw you side-eyeing me, you bastard.
You bastard.
You bastard. In Thailand or what?
Then, since we keep mentioning the police, in Texas, in 2015, a man named Michael Chico found a way to beat the drive-thru lines at Whataburger. He used a siren and flashing lights to cut into the line. Oh. So unfortunately for him, an
abuse of power, buddy.
Yeah, an off-duty police officer was in that line and followed him.
Oh, shit.
And when he was confronted, he admitted he used lights and siren to run traffic lights as well.
See, they're actually... Here's the thing, from ride-alongs that I learned, is that they're actually discouraged from using lights and sirens unless now, probably because of the abuses like this.
Yes.
Like, you have to have a very good reason, even if you're going to a call, unless you really have to do it, life or death, right? No lights and sirens.
Well, he was arrested and charged with impersonating a police officer.
Oh.
So, this one is my second favorite. In 2015, Joshua James found a 3.5-foot alligator by the side of the road. He picked it up and put it in his vehicle, as one does. Why you can't just leave the fucking thing alone, I don't know.
I heard this one recently.
He drove to a Loxahatchee Wendy's, ordered a drink, and then yeeted the alligator into the restaurant through the pickup window. So luckily, nobody was injured, including the alligator. The alligator was captured and released back into the wild. but the 23-year-old said it was a prank, and the judge said, fuck you. He was charged with both assault and unlawful possession of an alligator.
Should have run assault with a deadly weapon.
I'm like, do you need to have a concealed carry permit for your alligator? Don't yeet an alligator. That's the moral of that story. But here's my last but not least.
The alligator's just like, the fuck? I was just basking. I
was trying to I was trying to mate. I don't know. It was just alligatoring about.
Then he didn't know he was going to be yeeted.
The prosecution alleged that this man had a habit of
eating animals?
Of bothering alligators, of mistreating alligators.
Ew.
Oh, you just look so horrified. Yeah. I don't know why. But anyway, my final story of this little piece features my favorite instrument of mayhem, which would be the hatchet.
Yes.
I love a good hatchet story. This was early March of 2020. Again, when we were all on the verge of losing our minds. So, this was at Voodoo Donuts in downtown Portland, Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
It's at 3:40 a.m. A man shows up with a hatchet to rob the place.
And it's Portland. It's like saying Florida man. You say Portland man.
So, he doesn't demand money. He doesn't empty the registers. He hops the counter and starts loading up a pink box full of donuts. He fills it and flees. And the police caught him less than a block away because he had stopped to eat the donuts.
Well, I mean, he could just smell all that sugar. It makes me think. See, there was the whole Torchy's Tacos thing up in Denver, where like the guy had basically some sort of Freddy claw hand thing, and then like a clown painted face, which I think I later found out was more mimish than clownish. And he was like on a scooter and he attacked some people at Torchy's Tacos or something. And I was like, wait, a clown attack people at a Torchy's? I'm gonna go there.
Right? Torchy's Tacos is pretty good.
That's good.
I haven't been to the one here in town yet, though.
I mean, it's the same. It's the same.
I know, but when it was new and because of where it is, it's been crowded. And we all know how much I hate people. Not as much as you do.
Me, but yeah.
Not quite as much as you do, but I'm just like, I don't want to be around that many people to get a taco, even though they do make damn good tacos. And their street corn is ridiculously good.
Everything's good. They got rid of that. Well, okay. I don't know if they got rid of it. Just isn't at this one down here. I always got the refried black beans. Oh. And they were really good because they put like some sauce on top and stuff like that. So I was sad about that because I always got that. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my celebration of returning to food writing. And now I want a donut because I haven't had enough sugar. That's why I'm claiming to be so weird.
Other than eating your weight in candy.
I just found out, no, I have a new excuse now for being an idiot.
What?
I was reading an article popped up on Facebook. Is your Corellware giving you lead poisoning? And I'm like, well, fuck if I know. So I read the article. No, this woman is like an expert. She has 2 children who were lead poisoned. So she... Oh. And it told what she used to test it. I was like, oh shit, this is real. And I'm like, that's my pattern.
Shit.
And it said if you bought it before 2005. And I'm like, pretty sure I did.
I have a really old, it might be Corellware. It has like the blue flower design or something.
That's
the stuff?
Yeah. That's the stuff. So
it's so trustworthy though. It's held on for so long.
It's like, I'm like, but
it's older than me.
It's Corellware.
Shit.
That's supposed to be like the shit, the bomb, the stuff you can rely on. It doesn't break.
Is there iron in lead? Because it might be good for me.
It was high lead and high cadmium.
Oh.
I don't know what cadmium does.
Isn't that related to radioactivity? Isn't there cadmium and nuclear bomb? I don't remember.
I don't know. I thought of Cadbury cream eggs.
Oh, okay.
That's where my mind went. So anyway, yeah. So surprise! I'll be looking for a new set of dishes.
Damn it! Guess so will I.
If I can find the article, I will send it to you.
Damn it!
Right?
I really like that.
I looked at my friend Amy and I said, see, when I'm being stupid, it's not because I'm getting old. It's because I have lead poisoning.
Because I use that stuff multiple times a week.
A day?
Yeah.
I tend to eat every day.
Shit.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I do not think lead poisoning is funny. I just am like, fuck, really? Why isn't this on the headlines?
Because they don't report on anything important. They report on what will get the most reaction.
They report on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Oh, God, that's everywhere. And because I watched one of the reels, that's all my reels
all
now
get.
is Depp and cats.
Yes.
Kim video, I like 2 video. No, I watched 2 video. I didn't even like it. I wouldn't have liked the Johnny Depp
No,
one.
I didn't either. And now they're everywhere. And people are making up all this. He's dating his lawyer. And I'm like, no.
I saw that on a passing headline. I was like, who cares even if he is? If you were his lawyer and you were representing Johnny Depp and he said, you want to get dinner? You'd be like, fuck yeah, I want to get dinner.
I'd be like, skip dinner, you want to get naked.
Exactly.
It's Johnny Depp, people. But still in all, I'm a little tired of, let's put under a microscope every fraction of an eyelash twitch that Amber Heard has and how that indicates, beyond doubt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can we please?
I do find that psychologically fascinating because I've seen the report, like, she has borderline personality disorder. And I was like, damn, that fits like everything she's doing. I was like, shit. But yeah, just, it's never ending. And I'm like, we weren't there. We don't know.
No. it's yeah.
Yeah. So,
I'm tired of hearing about it.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be tired of hearing about Johnny Depp. But I kind of am.
So anyway, we just did it.
Yeah. On that note.
So thanks for listening.
Yes, and we'll be back next week with something horrific.
That's right. I'll be talking about Dr. Death.
I'll be talking about Brookie Lee West.
Woohoo! All right.
That's a fucking knot. So,
thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Mysteries, Monsters, and Mayhem.
Find us on Facebook and Instagram or at our website, mysteriesmonstersmayhem.com.
Please like, rate, and review, follow, and share wherever your favorite podcasts are downloaded.
Thank you for listening and supporting our podcast. We'll be back next week with more shenanigans.